And it looks like we are live.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a long-delayed episode of Aderjaeger. Last time, our group of hunters were trying to decide how to deal with the Haber threat in Forsheim. Some were deciding probably best to move on. Some felt revenge was a dish best served tied to a steak and grilled well done. But I think it's best that we just jump right back to where we were, back at the Aderjaeger in Forsheim. Jürgen Berthold, you had a rather interesting conversation when we last left, didn't you?
Yes. Deciding
Indeed.
whether it would be more godly to forgive and turn the other cheek and just leave town, or if the godly thing would be to bring God's justice to those who threatened men of God. God, 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 God.
I was gonna say, you wanna say God one more time?
Of course, you mean in the capital G sense.
Yes, absolutely.
We're not
Not-
heathens.
No, of course not. We're good Catholic men.
Of course. So, with the night settling in, do you decide to share your intentions with the party, or do you all just decide to head to bed with your ideas safely festering?
Jurgen's not going to inform the party, but he is going to break out a little black book, one that Brita might have seen before, one that she would know sort of the implication of, once he's in his quarters. Mind you, he's not breaking this out in front of everybody, but he's going to break out this little black book and begin recording the day's events from beginning to end, more or less scribing everything that Berthold told him in as much detail as possible, just keeping a very strong record of the day with particular attention paid to their interactions with the haberdashers.
The Habers.
Habbers.
The haberdashers.
Okay, sorry.
They sell
That's a very
neckties.
different profession.
Yeah, just a bit, but I couldn't remember the name. I thought it was, yeah, my bad.
Oh,
But that,
God bless you, you're adored.
shut up.
More specifically, Isaac Haber, which is the last remaining Haber brother. And the knowledge you received from Helena dealing with their father and grandfather.
But yes, everything that they've learned, all these events, Jurgen is putting to paper. He's creating hard records of this.
Alright. Is there any prep the rest of you would want to do before bed?
I mean, Zygmunt
Anyone
having
going to-
seen two of his compatriots come back bloodied and near death had immediately moved outside and went to post caravan guards out front while also kind of overseeing, defensive preparations in case there was going to be a move made against them.
The caravan guards are eager to please. This is kind of their first night with the group, and they're prepared to show that they mean business. So they, in almost military style, at least those who might know what that looked like, stand at attention and prepare to defend the Aderjaeger. Storch is, of course, regularly laying out a sort of fire and brimstone sermon of his own, of curses and various drunken slurs against the new caravan guards' mothers, fathers, grandparents, and even pets. In fact, there was a very sort of blazing admonishment of one of the things about implications that he may be the actual son of his father and their dog.
Oh,
But that's for another time. Storch has the situation well in hand, even though he's missing a leg.
And then before retiring, Zygmunt simply places a hand on his shoulder and points to the window of his room and says, I will be there if you need me.
Bertold, given that just a few hours prior he got his kidney stabbed and would be dying if it weren't the fact of Rita's healing salves are taking effect. He's going to do some resting for right now. See what the next day, what happens the next day.
Alright. Rita.
Rita's going to bed. She
That
she
works.
has nothing to accomplish. I'm sorry.
She don't know yet. She don't know.
No, she don't. If she did, she would be going to bed with a big old glass of alcohol. But nope, she's just going to bed.
For anyone who stays up relatively later or might be preparing other things around, Helena cleans up the Aderjaeger, takes care of the few other customers that wander in, and then kind of shoos them out as the midnight hour approaches, and locks up the inn, as she normally does, locks the bar up in the storeroom, then heads to bed herself. Most of you have a very restful night. Whatever machinations or concerns you may have generally slowly fade away as the night goes on. You all have had quite a active week. In fact, many of you are still somewhat recovering from the battle with the Adder just a few days ago. Berthold, however, you sleep fitfully. You feel
All right.
strange.
Forgot about that.
Like, it's almost like you feel like you're in more pain than you should be. Like, the pain is shooting up and down one whole side of your body, and the little bit of salve that you have left is the only thing that seems to keep the pain at bay long enough for you to get an hour and a half of sleep. It's almost like a consuming itch that sits just at the side of your mind when you're trying to sleep, an ache that stays with you. It makes it very hard to get a restful night's sleep. Mechanically, however, when you do finally awake the next morning, you have healed one section of your harm clock.
All right.
But that dull ache still remains. It's become sort of more of a headache than a physical pain at this point.
So Bertold's not going to be too enthused when he wakes up this morning.
No, he probably will be fairly cranky overall.
Mm-hmm.
The next morning, your caravan guards will report that the night passed fairly quietly. It seems sometime during the evening a contingent of the town's guard had come and helped reinforce. They had the same suspicions, apparently, that Zygmunt had, that there might have been some attempt at exacting revenge at the Aderjaeger. But no such attack happened. Either cooler heads have prevailed, or perhaps the Habbers are planning something larger later. You may never know. Next morning, Helena herself begins to ask what your plans are, as you all are sitting down to breakfast.
Bertold would be fairly quiet. He would just order an extra serving of mutton and other various food items, and just periodically glance over at Jurgen to see what he exactly intends for right now.
I'm trying to remember what was the town that we had agreed that we were going to head to.
Stuttgart,
Yeah.
Stuttgart.
which
If we
actually
don't-
happens to be Brida's hometown.
Yep.
Like we don't have, like we kind of sold everything we wanted to sell here, right?
Yeah.
You still have 19 shards, but yes, you'd sold all the Adderblood.
Right. And we kind of figured we could use the shards in Stuttgart, or is that a thing that we talked about?
There was also the potential that we could sell them. I forget the name of this area, but I know what it's that thing. That town right there that I'm pinging on the map.
Forsheim?
Yeah, no, we're at Forsheim.
Oh no, you're talking about the Addershield?
Yeah,
Addersheld?
Addersheld?
Right, which we agreed we couldn't go there until we had some more rep.
Yeah, exactly. But there was the potential that we could sell them for much higher at Aderjaeger.
Right.
Wait, or no, it would be much lower because they've got. I'm not remembering exactly, but no, there was with how common things were, cores were, or not cores, shards were in Forsheim. I do remember us making the decision we probably shouldn't sell here. Might be better places along the road or in Stuttgart.
Generally speaking, you're gonna get a higher price in a place where supply is not so common.
Right.
So if you go to Aderjaeger, you will get effectively nothing for it. But you'd also be able to trade it for a wider variety of resources, potentially. It wouldn't be the best choice to sell them there. But what you do have in Aderjaeger is another 10,000 Reichsgulden of funds for the company. That said, it's also a place that it's quite a distance, and quite a dangerous distance at that, away. It effectively takes you into the heart of Adder country, or Adder territory. If you notice, there's not many towns around the central section and valleys of the mountains. Most of them are pushed off to the side because this territory is very hard to control.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, Zygmunt will just kind of, over his breakfast, kind of mention to Helena, well, now that most of our company is formed, we're probably going to move eastward to Stuttgart.
Jurgen would kind of throw pass a glance towards Brita to see how she feels about that.
Brita, it does a very good job of hiding her displeasure. Jurgen would probably be able to notice her stiffen the tiniest bit.
Were we going there to get you a gun?
Yes.
Yeah, but she was also kind of thrown in jail for being a whore there.
Oh.
Yeah, and I will also say now, aside from Jurgen, none of you know that she was a prostitute.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
She's not really eager to get into that conversation. And furthermore, several people in Stuttgart know she was a prostitute. And don't really know why she's suddenly not anymore.
So we get the fun side loyalty mission out of the way early.
Yeah, basically. Yep. Do we get a special perk for that? Like character perk?
A bitch-ass gun.
Well, we get we get a bitch-ass gun as loot, but do we also get like double experience on successful speech checks?
She gets a new outfit.
Yeah, she gets a new outfit.
Oh, okay. Cosmetic stuff.
It's actually just a color swap, but
she gets a new
they'll
chroma.
put anything on the DLC page these days.
Oh god, how do we get the one with the giant cat head though? That's the Brita outfit I want.
Fuck off.
You gotta make it to Aderjaeger by level 45, and then there's a timed door that you have to get through.
Shit.
Yeah. Sorry.
Well, either way.
Otherwise, it counts as DLC.
Yeah, either way, Jurgen's just going to kind of shrug and go back at his breakfast, which is relatively Spartan compared to the rest of the company. He's only having a couple of eggs to eat. But he'll finish that off and push the plate in front of him and look to Berthold. I think that's a fine idea.
Berthold would raise an eyebrow, think it over for a moment. He knows that Jurgen isn't one to just abandon an idea fully after discussing it, so there'd be a specific reason for him to sticking to this idea. So he would grunt past getting his food and continue to eat, basically trying to distract himself from the headache and just try not to be, despite being in a grumpy mood, he will try to avoid being grumpy towards the others.
Well, I'm happy to see that being wounded didn't hurt your appetite, Berthold.
Well, makes you hungrier. Have to eat to heal, you know.
Got a point there.
You have anything else to say?
No, I suppose not. Just making sure you're well.
I'll be fine.
Well, dearies, when you all do decide to leave, don't forget to pay your bill. I mean, I'm glad to have you here, but I do have to restock the larder and all that. Elena says as she kind of busses some of your plates and empty glasses away as you all complete your breakfast.
Oh, we wouldn't think of it, madam. You've been very hospitable to us.
Sigmund looks to Jurgen, who's handling the funds.
That being said, I just remind me out of character, Jay. We've bought like all our gear. We've got, you know, the 3 carts. We've got the horses.
You're ready to go.
Okay, that's what
Let's
I
go
thought.
to the horse accounting page.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Before
you've got-
we sold all our blood. I was looking at the healing.
Yes.
Should we stock up on our healing stock? But we don't have
Yes,
blood.
please.
I'd recommend it.
Yeah.
Especially because someone's fucking
Strongly
addicted
recommend
to it.
Yeah, we would definitely want to stock up on healing, but we do have black bile. Then yeah, Jurgen's more or less going to just bring that up. We might want to stock up on healing supplies, considering these days have been stressful, as well as Miss Helena. I assume your larder is well stocked enough with food. We'd probably want to buy enough provisions to last our trip.
Berthold perks up at the talk of the healing supplies. Yeah, that sounds like a very good idea.
Brita just kind of frowns at him.
What?
Oh, we'll get you weaned off that eventually.
I would like to state it is difficult to know that he's addicted to it. So just for the sake of in-character interactions. Like, it will
Then never mind.
the closer we get to that 1 week point, it will become more and more obvious. But right now, you don't necessarily know, unless. Well, actually, you know what? I'm gonna give it to you. If you want to roll a check, which I believe would be melancholic, you are welcome to see if you can start detecting the signs of addiction.
Well, why not? Damn it.
Nope. So at this point, you do not know he's addicted.
Okay.
As he starts showing more signs, which I will
Oh,
prompt
wait.
him and give.
Wait, melancholic? Shit,
Yeah,
I rolled a phlegmatic. God damn it.
No,
Well,
No, yeah.
not how that works. In
But
this
I
case,
have
I
a
will
different
test you.
I have a
probably be
different
an
point.
You have a
oh.
partial succeed. I will
Oh, I
give
see
you
what you're doing. That makes
suspicion.
more
How's
sense.
that?
Oh,
I'll
okay.
give you
Fair
your
enough.
plus
Sorry
two
about
to it,
that.
which is- it's alright.
I didn't think of the very easier
Not
solution of
giving you
just
the
adding 2
13,
to it.
no.
I have done a very good job of completely wasting those really good rolls so far tonight.
Yeah, you have. You really have.
So at the end of the week, basically, we're going to all need to be sitting on top of Berthold.
We're just gonna have to tie him to the metal card. Like, honestly, that's my plan. Out of character, of course. I don't know in
Speaking of the
character.
metal cart. That was never purchased.
Right.
Oh shit, that's right.
I
You
got a
do
card.
have- Yeah, you do have 2 regular carts. One that was repaired by Jurgen's money, and one that was purchased from the old farmer.
How
But
much?
there is also a metal cart that you could buy from the collector's cart.
How much would it be for that metal card?
8,500.
8,500. So 8,500. And we're currently sitting on 70,000. So it'd basically be
78,760.
okay. Oh crap! And we also
With approximately 10,000 credit in Aderjaeger.
yeah, and we've also got if we wanted to get Adder upgrades, some I'm gonna just say Panzerkampfwagen. Letter Panzerwagen, thank you. Because Panzerkampf, I wish we could get a Panzerkampfwagen. Like, give me a fucking Tiger 2. I'll take on any Adder any day.
I'm interested.
What? So
Or a fucking T-34. Ooh, a T-34, yeah, baby.
Okay, a T-34 would not be here. Sorry.
I know, that's Russian.
Plus, this is Southern Europe.
It's true. Anyways, sorry, since I'm bad at remembering words. Okay, let's break this down into a to-do list so that we can keep organized and get shit done. Kletterpanzerung is one thing that we still need to think about, because we do have the armor plates, and we do have that, merchant and his sons in the crappy district. If we do that, we need to do that as a group. I'm telling you right now, out of character, and if you bring it up, you're gonna say the same damn thing in character. Need to do that as a group. Because that's Hobber territory. We also might want to look at that cart. And also, we were going to want to probably try and trade in or buy some medical supplies with our black bile.
Okay. Time-wise, I can tell you the following. Getting your stuff restocked from the apothecary with the black bile would be no problem. Just as easy as getting paid from the Engineers Guild. It'd be something you'd go in, you would trade. And they'd be like, okay, cool. Whatever they don't have the equivalent of, you would basically have to pay for. But
Gotcha.
That wouldn't be too hard. So you'd probably pay about 2,000 gold. You'd get 6 stock.
From one barrel of black bile?
No, from 2 barrels.
Oh,
It's
from
3
2
per
barrels.
barrel.
Okay.
Yeah. It is a distilled product, so it's something that is basically boiled down and then distilled to make a very potent thing. It's also combined with adder blood. Since you don't have any blood left, you basically have to pay market rate for it. Unless you can negotiate a decrease in cost, which that's something you could do. But anyway, that would take maybe 30 minutes, honestly, as long as they have the stock, which they should. The cart, again, would take, if you decide to do it, would take 5 minutes.
Okay.
Pay your money, you'd leave with it.
We have enough horses, right? Like it's 2 horses per cart.
Oh, yeah.
That's
yeah.
the
2
thing.
horses per cart.
Even the metal one?
Even the metal one.
Okay.
These are strong horses, and it's not a huge cart, you know. But it is a metal cart, which is nice. Now you load it down all the way, you could probably put 4 horses on it.
Gotcha.
You could, if you load the other carts because they're older with just lighter stuff, you could run those with a single horse as well.
Gotcha.
So you could run 4 on the metal cart and 1 on each of the other ones if you wanted.
Well, we'll see how we need to. Okay, so that's 2 things that's going to take no time. The adder plates, I'm going to guess, is going to take a lot longer.
It's going to take a day per suit.
A day per suit. Okay.
Right.
All right. Well, just doing the basic math, if we get the cart and the black bile into medical supplies, it's going to drop us by 10,500. That's going to bring us down to 63,000 Reichsgold, people.
No, 68.
No, 10,500.
10,500. So yeah, 68, 200.
You're
We're
right.
at
My bad.
78,000
Yeah.
right now,
Okay. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
I was thinking 15,000. Yeah. Okay. So 68,000.
How much was the armor per?
It was 10,000 per, wasn't it?
It's 10,000 per, yes. On top of that, it is also, I want to
A day
say, day per thing and 20 pounds of plate each.
Yeah, I believe that was it.
Yeah.
Well, how much are we willing to invest? Because we still need to buy food for the trip.
No, you actually bought food at the end of last session, if I remember correctly.
If we did, it's
Yeah,
not on
We-
the horse
we
accounting.
mathed it out.
Yeah, I don't. You didn't spend that. It wasn't that expensive though. If I remember correctly.
Oh,
I just
okay.
gave you a call for not putting it down. But you bought a week's worth of food. is what
Gotcha.
it came to.
Okay, so we've got a week's worth of food. All right. Okay, so that's one less thing we need to worry about. Then yeah, it really boils down to how much we want to spend getting our armor up to date, and
So
how
if
much.
we want to suit everybody up, that's what, 50 grand?
Yeah, it's gonna be 50 grand, and that would leave us with everything else. It would leave us with 18,000.
Yeah.
And we do still have to pay everybody per day.
Also, your primary smith is in Old Town, which even if you go there as a group, you're not probably going to be sleeping at the blacksmith shop,
No.
which means it may take longer if they're pressured by the hatters.
Oh, good.
That said, and I'll put this out there, Klitterpanzerung is not rocket science. Okay? It is something that most medium to larger sized towns would be able to facilitate. Okay? Because basically you're modifying, you're replacing a layer of steel for a basically chemically molded section of adder plate. Okay.
Okay.
I mean, we're not Aderjaegering on our way to Stuttgart right now. I mean, we might run into one, but we're not planning on it. I guess. Is probably
No,
the
we're
best way
not
to-
planning on it. In that case, Jurgen would sort of push his chair back and turn it towards the rest of the group before settling back in. Well, I have to ask the company, and of course our Einführer Zygmunt, how long are we willing to stay here? Because we do have the contacts made to begin upgrading some of our armor and gear with Kletterpanzerung. However, it's obvious that we've pissed off some of the locals and aren't necessarily welcome in that region of town. We could very easily get the supplies we've bargained for and leave today. Or we could stay longer potentially and threaten an altercation with the Hatters, but also receive some true Aderjaeger armor.
Can we not just get that made in Stuttgart?
We could. Absolutely we could, and perhaps the locals will be more welcoming there. But at the same time, we would have to meet a new smith. We would have to reestablish connections that we've already made here in Pforzheim.
Yes, that's gone so well for us so far, and he looks to Elena, who's strangely mute, and Berthold.
They started it.
I think we would
Besides,
have.
with most of the company gone, I think weaponry should also be a concern of ours. And if we can get both armor and weaponry in Stuttgart, it might be worth our time spending a little more time there.
It would definitely be more likely peaceful at the very least.
We formed this company to fight Adder, not men.
It's true, and as of right now, 2 of our company are already in wounded states. No offense, Bertolt.
None taken.
But it may be best at this time to cut our losses with Pforzheim and simply move on, since we can get what we need here elsewhere. Although at the very least we would want to restock your medical supplies, Brita.
I agree.
Then we're in agreement. We will restock our medical supplies. Would we want to reconsider renegotiating with the engineers for their metal cart?
They're probably not going to be too thrilled that we left them waiting, even if I did get stabbed for it.
No, I think at this point it may be best simply to pay the bill. If they're already upset at us for negotiating when it came to stripping the beast, it may be better for a long-term relationship to simply accept this price hike. I know it can be a bit of a tough pill to swallow. However, with this sort of work, we do want good relations with the collections guilds.
Let's see to it. If you hand me the money, I'll go handle the cart. It's not in the bad part of town, so it should be fine.
I think I'll still accompany you, Bertolt.
I don't think we should let any of us venture out into town by ourselves anymore.
Seemed to get a little riled up at that, but he simmers down after calling him after muttering a few things under his breath.
It's no lack of faith in your skills, brother, but I am concerned for your well-being. You were very severely injured.
Fine, then let's get it over with.
I agree. Jurgen would sort of wipe his mouth off and stand up, ready to get this done with.
As Jurgen stands up, Helena comes over with a fairly long piece of paper and hands it to him. Just when you're ready, dear. And on the words it says invoice.
Jurgen looks to Zygmunt. So we are for sure leaving today then?
I see no reason to linger longer here.
Alright then. Miss Helena, would you mind just accompanying me outside for a moment? Our coffers are out on the carts.
She kind of looks back at the group, a little unsure if this is some kind of a innuendo or not, and then eventually kind of pulls herself together and follows you outside.
It's not an innuendo, just where are you going to keep a chest full of gold coins except on a cart? He's just going to pay her.
No, I get you. I would like to mention the total cost is 102 Reichsgulden, which, considering for the entire party and you've been here for a week, is very reasonable.
And she's had to clean up our blood.
Yeah, and
Yes, she has to clean up
And our
blood
puke.
and puke and all sorts of fun stuff. So
Jurgen will, of course, pay her and then add on to that 20 Reichsgulden from his own personal stash. So I'll go ahead and deduct that, but pay her extra
yes,
for
please do
her
your own
hospitality.
accounting. I can't-
But yeah, go ahead and subtract the 120 from the company stash, and then I'll subtract another 20 from mine.
I'm gonna do this on my sheet simply, and I'll change the thing when you're done doing all the paying and whatnot.
Okay. As long as you've got a running tally of it, because
I got it right here.
Cool, perfect. Then yeah, Jurgen will pay her as well as extra for, because she has been incredibly hospitable and very kind, so she gets extra.
Okay. Make sure you mark that 20 off on your sheet.
I'm already down to 50 Reichsgulden on my own sheet.
Okay. So, are you all just going to do as planned? You're going to deviate? Anyone have any side missions they'd like to do while you're out and about?
I don't have
Otherwise, this won't take very long.
I don't have so much a side mission, but as Jurgen and Bertolt would be heading towards the cart, Jurgen would want to have a word with him. Sort of as they're walking through the streets up towards the Collections Guild, Jurgen would produce from the folds of his robe the little black book that he'd been recording in earlier, and would hold it out enough for Bertolt to see, and saying, "Sometimes it's best to let sleeping dogs lie, but God does not forget, and neither do the written word. I've ascribed everything that has happened to us in our company in here, and should we return, this information may be useful for involving the church if need be."
Bertolt kind of lets, thinks for a moment, kind of inhales, nods his head, is like, yeah, we need to get going, but if we ever do return here, I think a reckoning is due.
I'd agree, my friend, but sometimes it is better to just lick your wounds. Not literally, of course.
Yeah.
Rita's in the back like, that is not medically good advice.
Shut up, you were a prostitute. What do you know about medicine?
Wow, we're playing that card. Alright. If you didn't want healing, you just had to say so.
Jurgen's tending all of his own wounds from now on.
With his tongue, like the
Yep.
dog he
Suddenly,
is.
all the NPCs start throwing cabbage at Jurgen.
No, I love my healers. I always support my supports, and I vote for them at the
Yeah.
end on the victory screen.
Shut up.
Top healer always gets thumbs up from me.
Shut up, Lucas.
But no, that's more or less just Jurgen wanted to reassure Berthold that while it may seem as if they're walking away from this, he hasn't forgotten about this, and indeed, with everything written down, he won't forget about this.
Collection Guild, just like before, very easy to find. It's along a very wide avenue. Can I get... let's see. Give me the equivalent of a spot hidden check, somebody. That would
shit.
be...
Calculating, methodical, melancholic?
Is it? What did we decide? It's been 3 weeks, and
I
I
think-
forgot
honestly
now.
don't
I think melancholic.
Yeah, I think melancholic.
Okay, so give me a melancholic roll.
Oh, I
I'll give
can't
you
use the
that.
one I had before.
No.
Are we going? Is that a thing that we're going?
I thought everyone was, sorry.
Okay.
I might not be there.
I mean, if
I
you
thought it
want to
was.
stay back, you can.
Well, I don't see shit.
I actually don't have anything highlighted right now. Did we do that?
Oh boy.
It shouldn't have changed, which means you
Yeah.
removed it after the last one. Okay, I'm going to give you Sanguine, because I'm
And
an
I-
asshole. I'm
yeah.
gonna choose Melancholic. There
Yeah,
you go.
I already well, when I looked at the sheet earlier tonight, it had Sanguine and Melancholic
Right.
highlighted. I'm not sure how that changed, but whatever. Fuck it. That's
Okay.
fine. It didn't succeed
Okay.
anyway, so I don't get experience either way.
Yes, you do.
Oh, I do?
If you roll a mark
Highlighted
stat, you get
highlighted stats always get mark XP. The
Gotcha,
only time you
okay.
don't mark XP is if you have a move that requires a success.
That's right. Okay, thank you for reminding me.
No problem. Okay, so Zygmunt and Jurgen, two of the people that'd be really super interested in knowing this, miss out. But I guess at some point they had walked ahead of the group, and towards the back, Brita and Bertolt, Bertolt still suffering a throbbing headache, happens to just look to the side to try to distract himself, and notices in some of the alleys, every once in a while, he'd notice more people than usual watching them as they walked by. Brita as well.
Brita would kind of glance at him and just kind of very quietly mumble, "Do you see that too?"
I do.
Like, I know this isn't Pathfinder, but I'm still going to mention that Zygmunt definitely put his armor on before he left.
That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, Jurgen
Wait.
would. I think we all would because we're getting ready to travel.
Yeah.
It's
It's-
easier than carrying it.
They don't seem willing to step out of the shadows. Like, this is kind of like people are, they're eyeballing you, as they say. But
And I'm guessing
they're
we probably
not...
brought 2 horses along with us.
You could have brought everyone if you wanted.
Right.
You do have caravan guards. You do have carriages. You could, if you're ready to move out, you could have emptied the Adelvader and you could just
Yeah,
be
I
ready
suppose.
to ride now if you want. That's up to you all. It is your company after all.
Brita would
Like, you
Take
don't
a
have to
moment.
walk at all.
she would take a moment to kind of make sure that what she's seeing is actually noteworthy and not just like normal people doing stuff on a street in a very normal way.
Oh
And
no, they're looking right at you. Like,
Yeah.
it is not, oh, those are Aderjaegers. These are people with, these are not great looking people with not very happy looks on their face.
yeah, and she would kind of walk a little bit faster to catch up to the folks who are in the front of this little procession. And she just kind of lean over to Jurgen a little bit and, again, very quietly mumble something about, I'm pretty sure we're being watched very closely.
Since she's informed me, can I actually see them now?
Yes.
Okay.
They're
Jurgen
not
would.
hiding.
Okay. Then
They're just
Jurgen would.
not standing in front of you, as it were.
Gotcha. Jurgen would cast his eyes back and catch them before nodding slowly. I don't think they'll come out and attack us here in the broad of daylight on turf that isn't their own. Act natural and pretend you don't see them. Perhaps, if they are going to attack us, feigning weakness might be the best bet to draw them into a disadvantageous situation. Let Zygmunt know as well. He's a good battle commander and would know what to do under this pressure.
Brita just kind of nods and then goes to pass on that information to Zygmunt.
Zygmunt doesn't really say too much. He just kind of finally pays attention to them and just nods his head. Basically something along the lines of just let them watch.
Bertolt's a little more visibly perturbed. He kind of grips the haft of his poleaxe more tightly.
Storch realizes this maybe a little later than Brita and Bertolt did, but
Oh god.
he's driving one of the carts behind you in order to transport the barrels of bile, because that would be uncomfortable to do with just your porters. It's not a multi-mile journey, but it's just easier to take a horse in a cart than it is to try to carry it downtown. As you kind of get into a narrower part, he notices some of the people in the alley kind of step forward a little too close to the cart, and you can hear behind you the sort of snap of a whip as Storch, just taking no shit from anyone, just cracks it right in their faces, and the people in the alleys kind of drift back, and you can kind of hear his almost the sound, like you can imagine, like rats shuffling in tubes as groups of people kind of move down the alleys, kind of watching you as you walk. Not so much getting any closer. In fact, they've actually backed off a little bit, but you can tell the intention is to have you know that you're being watched.
Jurgen can't help but break a small smile at the sight of Storch cracking one of the guys in the face with a whip. Even if it didn't directly impact him, that's damn pleasant to see.
What Storch is not able to do, cracking a whip, he has followed up with curses and other such admonishments to the people around.
Bertolt thinks that Storch would probably make for a good excruciator if we were to return and deal with the scum.
After a few minutes, you arrive at the gates of the collectors. The small side door, like you knew before, is still there, and sitting behind the counter, just as before, is the short man that you dealt with. Sitting on his high stool with his books, kind of looks up and says, "That took quite a while." Seeing Bertolt walk in.
It did, and I apologize. There was a incident. He leans over and shows him a gap in the armor where there's bandages.
He kind of tilts his head, looking. I see. Ruffians. Old Town? He asks inquisitively.
Yeah. So I do apologize for the delay on this. If you're still willing, I would be willing to buy the metal cart at the price you offered before, 8,500.
If you're willing to pay the price, it's yours.
Excellent.
I will, of course, need to be paid up front, of course.
Yeah. He waves Zygmunt over.
Zygmunt will walk over, and I guess since we already knew this, some of the cart. He says after discussing things, we've agreed to your terms. One cart for, I believe it was 8,500 ranks golden.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Muted. That is correct. 8,500. It is a little bit rusty, but it's still in quite good condition. The axles on it are in very good condition. And really, that is what you pay for on a cart of this type.
Exactly.
The walls are replaceable.
Zygmunt will nod and, I guess, pay the man. We'll hook our horses up to the cart and be out of your way.
You place several fairly medium-sized bags of coins on the counter, and he kind of whistles, and some men from the back come and take it, and there's sort of a serpentine passway that leads out of sight. You have to assume that there's probably a safe back there of some sort, but it is not visible from where you are. After a few minutes, they've counted all the coins, and one of the men comes back and whispers in the short man's ear, and he says, "Very well. I'll have someone meet you at the gate with your new cart. You have horses for it, yes?"
Zygmunt nods.
Okay. Well, then it'll be just a few minutes. You can see he goes back to kind of writing and transferring numbers between books, and doesn't ask you to leave, but just for the most part stops engaging with you at all. You are currently down to 70,114. Reichsgold.
Okay.
Again, I can't update that number in real time, so I've got it on my sheet.
Fine.
Yeah. I appreciate it.
All right, so to the bile. Are we getting bile now?
Well, we're trading in our bile for healing supplies.
Right. Yeah, healing supplies. That's the word.
Mhm.
Stock.
Yes, healing stock. Certainly. So after a few minutes, the cart comes out. I'm assuming you hook all your horses up to it. Just like he said, and just like Bertolt you saw yesterday, the walls are somewhat flimsier than if they were new. There's some rust, but the axle itself does look nice and strong. It's almost a single piece of forged steel, which is impressive, technologically speaking. The wheels are all metal banded with, basically you've got a mix of brass and copper hardware on the wheels. It could do with some, perhaps some shining up or paint or fabric or canvas or something to maybe perhaps make it look a little better, but it is definitely a functional vehicle. And certainly a significant improvement protectively on anything you would like to carry within it than the wooden carts that you already have. The apothecary is in Newtown, lucky for you, not Old Town.
Yeah.
And when you arrive, it's almost like a small market. You've got out front, you've got standing tents with fabric over them covering just barrels and barrels of adder blood and black bile. The smaller, very, very obvious barrels are stamped with a big red cross shape on them. Some actually even have the gold and black shield of the Order of St. Michael on them as well. But this is basically a processing yard in front of the store. And once you go inside, they basically ask you directly what you're looking for and what you have to trade. Black bile barrels, by the way, they're 10-gallon barrels. They're not the 42-gallon adder blood barrels, which are a real pain to move, but they're still 40 pounds a piece. They're not the lightest things to move about. But they are quite valuable. If you sold them by themselves, they'd be worth about 1,000 a piece, equal to adder blood, but also far more useful directly. Simply because the product they produce is literally able to bring people back from the dead if you know how to use it properly. If all you're looking to do is a straight exchange, that's the apothecary would just ask you to put your barrels on the counter and go into the back and get 6 things of stock for you. If you want to try to negotiate the price better, I leave that to you.
Well, as they enter, Jurgen's not necessarily going to shove her forward, but going to kind of gently push Brita into the front to see if Titties can perhaps negotiate them a lower price.
Well, Brita would understand the implications, sort of, but still kind of cast him a look of like, why'd you shove me, though? And then she would go up towards the counter, or whoever the person is who's in charge of the fucking fucks, and she would ask him about what the prices that he's charging for the stuff is.
The fucking fuck installed is a very tall man, probably about 6'8", extremely thin, almost skeletonized, you could say. Dark blue eyes, wearing a white smock and a hat, and seemingly having no body hair on him whatsoever. He's imposing, this almost spider of a man, as he stands over a small book of notes and several, mixing components and little burners all around him. And as you kind of push up and ask about prices, he ignores you for a minute, and then his head just kind of creaks over to you and looks at you maybe a little longer than you feel comfortable. There's sort of an odd pause between that, as if he's thinking about a response, or perhaps even trying to figure out how to form words in a language you'd understand, before he says, "Depending on what you have to trade."
Well, Jurgen, what do we have to trade precisely?
2 barrels of bile.
What can you do for me for 2 barrels of bile?
As you interrupt him, his head creaks over to Jurgen, and then creaks back to Brita. And there's a long pause, as if he completely lost what he was trying to say. And then he continues, "Each barrel of bile decreases the cost by 1,000 unless you have suitable gallons of adder blood."
I'm afraid we don't have any suitable gallons of adder blood.
Then it would be 1,000 per set of stock. We have... He sort of stops. And he turns, and even though he's got very long legs, it feels like it takes him forever. Like he's almost swimming through the air. The kind of speed his joints are moving. He walks to the back of the room and he looks down at the book and he goes, "We have 12 units in stock currently. How many would you like?"
How many do you think you could spare for just a lady trying to get by?
He kind of turns back away from the book. "I have to spare 12 units.
Can I
How
roll
many
for
would you
sanguine?
like?"
Can I just roll for sanguine and stop talking?
Explain what you'd like to do with Sanguine,
alright.
and then we can do it.
Alright, let's see.
Because he doesn't need a calming presence, let me tell you that.
I will kill him. Alright, shit. Let me think for a minute here. I don't really have a role to fucking seduce a zombie. So,
Zombie.
fuck, this isn't very creative, but I guess she would just kind of subtly adjust her bust and try again.
Okay.
Jesus.
That'll. Jesus Christ!
Roll you can get.
Wow.
Adjust your bust, and he snaps his neck and dies.
And we loot the place for 12.
Oh god! She's really
Okay.
good at that little, like, my shirt is falling down boob wiggle.
As you do that, his eyes sort of almost sloth-like, long limbs, skeletonized form. You can see the skin on his cheeks pull back, which is by no means a flattering look, as a small smile just rips across his face. Not grows, not opens, almost seems to rip, as if the pale skin had just sheared across, and suddenly the bright, almost red pink of what would actually be the inside of the lips begin to show as a smile comes across, and he sort of steps forward, his height allowing him to look significantly down at the front of your shirt, as he says, "How many do you need?"
Out of character, how many do we need?
Well, we were trading in for 6, but if you can get a little more for the same price, like get us 9 for the same price.
She would, as someone who has had to be romantic with people that she's not attracted to before, she's very good at hiding the fact that he's kind of really fucking weird and now getting very close to being in her personal space. And she smiles at him very charmingly and just says, "Oh, we could really use maybe 9 or 10, but only if you think that that's all right to give that to us for our price."
There's sort of a slow stop as the man walks over to the book and then walks back to you. Not quickly. You could tell he probably could be capable of surprising speed, considering how long his legs are and how fairly he must be fit, otherwise something is very wrong with him. And he says, "They come in sets of 3. And he stops. "I suppose I could do 9 for 2 barrels.
Oh, would
But
you?
it
That
will
would be
cost 3,000. Basically, he's giving you an extra 1,000 discount.
And Rita kind of glances to look at Jurgen to see if this is an acceptable bargain.
Jurgen nods and goes ahead and sets, with the help of the porters, he'd be carrying 1 barrel and probably have a porter carrying another, sets them on the counter for the exchange.
And Rita turns back to give this interesting man a big beaming smile, and she goes, "That would be absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much."
The sort of strange, wicked grin appears back on the man's face, and he kind of walks to the back of the shop and pulls back a very long curtain. And from the back, you can see what's actually a very long workshop behind him. Giant basins and bins and what looks like pot stills just filling the whole back of the shop. And what's actually kind of amazing is, in this one instance, the man you dealt with his strange, lanky, long arms and sort of taut skin and pale face, he's not alone. There's probably 2 or 3 dozen people with similar bodily forms and expressions on their face. And as the curtain pulls back, they all kind of turn towards the group, and that same wicked crack smile kind of spreads across their faces. As he kind of goes back to a shelf that's just inside the doorway, pulls 3 leather satchels, and comes back and slowly places them on the counter before pulling the curtain closed again. All the people in the back maintaining direct eye contact with the party as the curtain pulls closed.
Now, is this, out of curiosity, is this pretty, like, having dealt with people who handle this bile before, is this common? Are they all this creepy? Okay. Just checking.
People that regularly encounter or ingest it tend to have their bodies start becoming, some would call it unnatural. But it's also a very profitable business. It's kind of like the stink that tanners have to deal with. It's
So,
unnecessary.
I'm happy to be rid of this.
is this the fate that awaits Brita?
Fuck
No,
off!
Currently, this is the fate that awaits Bertolt.
Yeah. This is what you're working for with your addiction, motherfucker.
Bodies become exceedingly lean when they don't necessarily use anything other than magic to ingest.
This is your body after meth. This is your body after Adderblood.
Black
Oh no,
Bottles.
those are world shots. We'll get to them.
Adderbot.
Also, I love how this music was just perfect for that
It
scene.
really fucking was good. I don't know if you did that intentionally. Either way, claim that you did it
Random trouble.
intentionally because good
I
job.
thought he was going to invite Brita back there. I was like, yeah, you're going to get Buffalo Billed if you go back there.
Yeah.
It rubs the bile on its skin or else it gets those again.
Please, I'm not into bile play.
Oh god. We're now at 67,114 right score.
Well, fuck it. I think we're good to leave town.
Okay.
Does anybody have any further business in Forrestheim before we leave it for good?
Frida needs to take a bath.
Well, yes, that's understandable.
As you leave, a long arm reaches out and puts a hand right on Brita's shoulder. And before you even turn around, he goes, "I'm Gerald, Kaltenbrunner. If you need anything, just ask."
Jurgen kind
And then
of
the
being...
hand kind of hovers off the shoulder and sort of disappears back into the darkness of the shop.
So it's a good thing that Zygmunt isn't drunk and arm wrestling right now. Otherwise, we'd probably have another dead man on our hands.
Jurgen, more or less seeing this,
Actually,
kind
like,
of raises his
kill him, 'cause
voice
that'd be funny.
high enough so that he can be heard and just loudly declares to the shop, "Do not disappoint Christ, my son," before turning and leaving with the rest of the party.
Oof, God to the hill. They gave me the willies.
I don't even have anything witty to add. Frida fucks off. She just leaves.
What's the sanity loss, Jay?
She was gonna be like super nice to him, but then he fucking whispered in her ear like that, and then Jurgen's screaming about Christ, and she just needs to leave.
Oh my
Zygmunt
god.
just laughs. This
You
is
all
fun.
can mark Forsheim Apothecary +1. Rita,
Fuck
You're
yeah.
welcome. And now you all feel bad for Brita because he touched her.
Yeah, but you get a +2.
Oh, I do?
Yeah.
I didn't hear that part. Alright.
Yep, sorry. Yes, with Gerald Kaltenbrunner.
Oh shit, hang on, I'm gonna have to remember this.
The Kaltenbrunner name is one you'll come back to. Just telling you ahead of time. Maybe not Gerald. Depends on whether you visit Forsheim again. Alright. The midday sun has come and gone as your dealings with the day have gone fairly well overall. You can either leave now, which, to be honest, is probably the wise choice, or you can decide to stay another night, though that would mean, of course, finding lodging and keeping your material in Forsheim for another night.
Nope.
I'm gonna agree with Zygmunt on this. Yeah, let's just go. If we're gonna go, let's just go.
Let it go.
Okay. As you sort of roll to the, towards the gate, your group, you've got now your metal cart, which now includes your caravan guards, and I'm assuming you've put your more valuable items inside it as well.
I figure we probably put the raw armor plate in there, and
Yeah, the heavy stuff.
we probably moved 4 horses over to that.
Okay. And then 1 each on that. You still have your 9 porters. You still have 6 guards, because I'm including Storch in that. Because he will shout things away if that's all he has left.
And crack a whip in their face like a badass.
So, yeah, this is the end of Forsheim. As you reach the, basically the city gates, the town guard, the captain of the guard that you had talked to, Jurgen, comes out and I'm muted.
I thought I lost
No,
connection.
Oh yeah, I thought I
no.
lost connection too. I was really scared.
Sorry, I was typing. I didn't want y'all to have to hear that. But as you kind of roll towards the gate, as probably about, I'd say it's about 3-4 o'clock. Before you're allowed to leave, the captain of the guard actually comes out and stops the cart.
What seems to be the problem, Captain?
There's no problem. I'm just glad to see that you've decided to leave. Tensions are building in Old Town. I was concerned that if you'd stayed here much longer, we might have actually had another riot on our hands.
Jurgen nods slowly and looks to Zygmunt. Well, our Einführer is a wise man and has decided that it's best to simply bury the hatchet.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. I'm sorry we couldn't do more to help, but you have to understand we have a very perilous peace here as is. But do please come back.
We may in the future, although... A word of warning, Captain. I mean this with the utmost respect, truly. But if you allow that cancer to sit in Old Town, it's not going to grow easier, it's going to grow worse.
It's not something that exists with any sort of comfort. It's a daily threat. And trust me, as soon as there is an opening to do so, I believe we will easily do so. But as long as the grandfather still breathes, unfortunately there is a sort of vile intelligence connected with its actions. The son, the father, their day will come. But the grandfather right now, we don't have an effective counter to, so understand we are doing what we can. And time is on our side. But for now, we have to do what's best for the town itself. A burning town brings in no coin.
And a burning town does no good to God. I do sincerely wish you the best, Captain. May God protect you and your men.
He shakes your hand and pats you on the back and then goes back into his tower, and within a few minutes the gates open. Laid before you is the main trade road heading out into the forest. That's loud. Excuse me. Let's stop that really quick. Hold on. Shit, that was loud. Apologies to everyone on stream. Apparently, my audio levels got reset on these songs. Anyway, laid before you is the very common forest road towards Stuttgart. It meanders, most assuredly, going down by the river, which was another way you could have gone. And then back up through the forests. Let's go to the map here. Through the foothills, it leaves Forsheim, and for a large patch of forest intervenes. Where you are now, you'd most likely be able to make it to about the highest point of the foothills before you'd have to make. The forest is fairly dense, but overall, fairly pleasant place. It's nighttime that most people are concerned. It's a rocky path. Long, winding roads are needed to get up and around the hills. Unfortunately, it seems like there's no way to get anywhere in a straight line around here. What precautions or actions are you taking as you're traveling down the road?
I really think that'd more or less be up to Zygmunt. He's kind of in charge right now.
I say Zygmunt is also really, really nervous around these types of scenarios because this is exactly how he lost his companions before joining this group. So he's taking great precautions to make sure that they have scouts, marking out the trail ahead, making sure that they're not being followed. Doing his best not to make sure that everybody is hemmed into one, basically kill box.
Give me a leadership role of some sort.
Yeah. I guess that'd probably be calculating methodical.
You have a leadership move, right?
I do, yeah.
What's that connected to?
Right now it's connected to sanguine. I don't know really.
It works.
Yeah.
So I would give me a sanguine roll.
So with a +1, I guess.
Right. Hey,
Okay.
That's a good success. This close to Forsheim, before you left, you would have been told that the roads are in pretty good condition, despite the thawing snow as spring begins to finally show itself. The roads haven't washed out, which almost seems a miracle, honestly. But then there's been a lot less traffic. A lot more of the sort of movement of goods has been heading south along the rivers instead of east or west from the main trade roads. At least not yet. Soon, though, there would be large caravan groups heading east and west and north out of the Black Forest to different parts of the continent. But for now, though, you can tell that though the road has been well used over the years, within the last few days, there's only been probably 1 or 2 heavy carts on this road in that time. One heavy cart relatively recently, perhaps only a few hours ahead of you. And you can tell it's a heavy cart like your metal cart. The rest of your guards are doing their job. They're kind of swapping out, walking alongside the carts. You're not going at a breakneck speed, but you're going about a quick march speed down the roads, around the turning corners. And so far, there's really not much to see. It's really a fairly peaceful experience overall. Maybe even a little tedious. Just a constant forward march. But by the end of the day, as the sun's setting, you kind of come to a almost beautiful vista at the top of the trees. You can see the rest of the foothills around you, the forest ahead, as the sun begins to set beyond the horizon. Do you all want to make camp, or do you want to push through the night?
Being at the top of the foothills, Zygmunt will kind of mentioned that this is probably a good defensible position to set up camp, and he's willing to hear any arguments for pushing forward, but feels like if they were being watched really closely, that if they are being followed, this would be a good place to protect themselves versus traveling through the night in uncharted territory.
Jurgen would more or less sort of squint his eyes and stomp around the proposed campsite before looking back at Berthold. You're more militarily inclined than I am. It seems good to me.
Berthold would look at the incline. Well, if they're foolish enough to try and attack us, they would have to do uphill, and if we spot them coming, then, well, their numbers would be little. They just wouldn't have to be able to take the momentum to break us. They would have to rely on surprise, and, well, they kind of lost that when they've kept watching us back in the town. So, yeah, I'd say this is a better spot than any.
I can't think of any reason to disagree with the men. Very well put.
As you make your decision to set up camp, the caravan guards kind of go to the outside and they pitch their tents and start, cooking up a broth and pulling out rations of ale and other things as they sit down and, for the most part, begin arguing over who takes what shift. But they all seem to be in pretty good moods. No one's concerned. This close to Forsheim, there aren't known for that many bandits or things like that could attack. But they're on their guard. They realize they're still, they've got to keep this job. If they want to get paid, it's not yet that they're going to start receiving a regular paycheck until they've really proven they know what they're doing. And many of them don't want to have to walk back to Forsheim because they didn't do a good job. So they generally go about their jobs. They set up a watch, groups of 2, split into sets to watch. The porters have all, for the most part, make sure you've got what you need. One is cooking food, stoking the fire, but most of them have headed to bed. They're not going to set up in a watch of any sort. You all would know that you're certainly welcome to join the watch if you feel like you want to take shifts, but for the most part, you're not expected to. Much like a knight has a squire or another such setup, you're allowed effectively to relax. This is not what you're supposed to be doing. This is menial tasks. So you could, once you eat your food, you effectively allowed to be head towards bed if you felt like it.
Berthold would, he'd actually pretty exhausted from not only just his wounds, but the lack of sleep that he got from last night. He'd be actually even more irritable because these kinds of a march like this would be nothing for him compared to how he's handled them in the past. So he's like, he'd be determined to try and get a good night's rest this time and be good and fresh for the morning.
Okay. Everyone else?
Jurgen would take a watch. He definitely would probably take one of the earlier watches. That way, some of the caravan guards who had been marching all day would be able to get a few hours of sleep before it was their time. But no, Jurgen definitely doesn't really think watch duty is beneath him. So he'd take a watch.
Okay. Anybody else? Plans? Nap?
So Zygmunt will probably relieve Jurgen after a little while, but take first nap.
Okay, so you'd be heading to bed.
Yeah.
Brita?
Probably head into bed when she's got all of her shit squared away.
Okay. Not too long after you all decide to head to bed, and Jurgen, you begin your first set on watch about the time that the moon is fairly high in the sky. The sound of clashing steel and shouting comes from the valley below you. The acoustics are just about ideal. And at first, it might be a concern. It almost sounds like there's a battle going on. and then eventually the sound of clanking steel and a loud cart, kind of the sound of like something heavy finally collapsing on the ground. There's silence, and a few minutes later, there's a sort of pale blue glow from the valley below the hill that you're currently camping on, visible. It doesn't require any kind of a roll to see it. It's quite obvious. It illuminates the trees. It's probably less than a mile away.
Jurgen would call out. He's gonna rouse people if there's sounds of a battle.
And there was sounds of a battle indeed. The acoustics making it very obvious that there was definitely the sound of metal on metal and shouting and such, and screams of pain and those sorts. Specifically noting that this is ahead of your carriage.
So yeah, Sigmund will be, heading, like as he's getting out of his tent, he's actually getting his armor strapped on, and he looks, and after getting kind of the reports, he kind of thinks back to where he was traveling, and there was a heavy iron cart that was not far ahead of them. Kind of makes the connection that this is probably the people that were traveling alongside them. Do we? Is there something that we would know about the pale blue glow that would be?
Yes, you know that adder blood in contact with shards glows blue, brightly, to the point that adder lamps are actually a very common sight in many towns and many caravans even.
Does this look like an adder lamp?
It looks like dozens of adder lamps.
An improvised adder lamp?
Just to use a modern comparison, it looks like there is a rave with adder lamps going on in the valley below.
So they're moving.
No, not so much.
No.
It is
Okay.
just, it is a lot of light. Like a lot more light than you would expect for like even a large amount of adder lamps. Because those are usually shielded on the top, and this light seems to be glowing straight up. You can't quite see anything because the trees block any direct line of sight. Certainly the valley does itself. But the acoustics were perfectly clear. There was some sort of conflict. But with that done, only the blue glow remains, and a almost silent night stands still.
Jurgen will look to Zygmunt. Well, Commander, shall we investigate or simply fortify our position and hope for the best?
It would be foolish to give up our high ground, but maybe it's less than a mile away. I won't order anybody, but if we have any volunteers to scout ahead and report back.
You know what sucks is that was Elena's specialty.
Yeah.
Like, that's literally what she does.
Yeah.
Berthold will be getting up at this point. Pat putting on his arm was like, what's going on?
Well, worst case scenario, there are Waldschrott in these woods. They just murdered our fellow travelers. They may also be bandits that were after whatever they were carrying.
Well, whatever fighting is down there seems to have ceased for the moment. However, if they are bandits or Waldschrott, if we simply leave them be, they may steal off into the night with whatever they've stolen from those poor travelers.
From what I know of Waldschrott, are they capable, are they known for stealing things, or they just murder?
Oh yeah, Waldschrott are not unintelligent. They're
Okay.
They're primitive.
Okay.
In a sense, primal, feral. I think feral is the best description. Plainly, that doesn't mean they're dumb, and it certainly doesn't mean that they don't recognize a threat or can't defeat things. They just, for example, they aren't zombies,
Right.
Kind of a thing. There is an intelligence to them. They're just aggressive. It's an aggressive intelligence.
Well,
Zygmunt, if I may suggest a course of action, but if there are bandits, or perhaps wayward travelers, or even Waldschrat, it would be, correct me if I'm wrong, a bad idea to abandon our tactical position, but perhaps we could lure them to us. I have been known for my sermons, and I'd be willing to bet my voice could carry that far down the hill.
Frida's in the back like, yes, it can.
The word of God might bring any survivors to us, or perhaps lure any heathens into a poorly planned offensive.
Sigmund's just kind of standing at the edge of the hill and staring down at the pale blue glow, kind of weighing his options. And he looks to Jurgen, or he looks to a couple of his caravan guards, and looks back to Jurgen and just simply nods his head. We'll prepare an ambush.
Jurgen would nod and sort of clear his throat before standing at the edge of the hill so that he could project as far down into the valley as he could before declaring, not so much in a shout, but in the clear, projected voice of somebody who has spoken to a wide audience before. The mountains quake at him, and the hills melt, and the earth is burned at his presence, yea, the world and all that dwell therein. And he would begin laying into a verbose recitation of scripture as loud as he can to either alert, simply to alert whatever he's seeing down at the bottom of the hill to their presence.
There's no
Zygmunt's also
response on this all
we're
night.
gonna start a fire behind Jurgen just to give him a nice imposing shadow.
The blue glow remains, no sound issues forth.
Obviously, we're gonna remain in ambush position for at least 10 to 20 minutes, as far as away as it was. But
And Jurgen's going to keep preaching those entire 10 to 20 minutes. He's not going to stop until either they hear something that would suggest they're about to be attacked, or he's told to stop.
Frida would like him to stop.
Breda ain't got no authority, motherfucker.
Motherfucking is a
Because
sin,
This is an egalitarian setup.
and I have the power of cleavage.
Yeah, you've got really
That's
effective
interesting.
cleavage.
You could do a soothing presence on him.
Yeah, but I don't. Just in character, I don't have a
last time
reason
we
to get him
tried
to
to use
shut
that.
up. Yeah. No, but like, she's super annoyed by him screaming gospel down into the forest, but she actually doesn't really need him to stop. That would be super counterproductive based on what they had planned to do.
Okay, so for 20 minutes, this rising sermon in the wilderness goes on. But no voices issue forth from the wilderness.
and
Because
no,
that
God
shows
bless
on
you.
Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Also on Tinker Tabletop.
Shameless plug.
But no, there is no response. There's no call, no scurrying sound or climbing, no apparent movement or assault on your position, no attempt to drown out the sermon. Just a quiet night and a shouting priest.
It's pretty common for medieval Europe, to be perfectly honest.
It is. Occasionally, you'll see flights of birds fly away from the hill. You seem to have done a very good job of pushing most of the migratory birds away from this area.
Ah, the little fucking
but
heathens.
otherwise,
well, yeah, after that much time has passed, Zygmunt will finally rise from the bushes and lay a hand on Jurgen's shoulder. Well, it seems either they're God-fearing men or they're not interested in what we have.
Jurgen would more or less finish the passage of gospel he had been quoting before. Closing his mouth and looking to Zygmunt, he nods his head and then pulls his water skin off of the waist of his armor and drinks deeply because screaming for half an hour is pretty thirsty work.
Indeed, it is. I suppose you all could go back to bed if you wanted to at this point. That's up to you.
I feel much more comfortable inspecting that.
Yeah,
Okay.
out of character, I'd like to go down there and have a look.
Yeah.
In character, too, Jurgen would like to go down there and have a look.
As 20 minutes of scripture did not bring it to come smite you or anything of the sort.
Well, 20 minutes of scripture wouldn't come to smite me. God would protect me from the smoting of any heathen god.
All right.
Well, Zygmunt will call back most of the guards from their ambush positions and look down at that pale blue glow one last time, and then look back to his companions. Well, is there anyone who wants to inspect, or should we spend the night and then check in the morning?
Elena would be good for slipping through the night if I'm not mistaken, and should she run into trouble, my voice would be able to carry and let you know that we would need help.
And Rita informs them that Elena is in a temporary coma. She'll be fine. She's just out of commission.
Earplugs of cotton to drown out the sermon that had been going on.
Wow.
Rita is actually really
Heathen.
fucking salted with her that she didn't share.
However, if
Jurgen.
anyone had decided to actually go and investigate, she would most likely groggily agree and follow.
But that's kind of what I'm getting at, is Jurgen would want to go down there since he knows that if he starts preaching again, people are going to know, hey, we should come down and help them because his voice carries.
Or he could just yell for help. Like, why does it have to be a Bible verse?
Because God would help him.
Then why does he need people coming down the hill for him?
Because God acts through his believers, Darby, alright?
You have no idea what you're talking
God
about.
helps those who help themselves.
Exactly.
Anyway, so you mount up. Are you taking horses? Or are you walking
I'd say,
down?
yeah, a small team.
Okay. Are
The
you bringing
caravan guards will
caravan
be on
guards? Just you, or who
I
are you
think
leaving at the camp?
I'm going to leave the caravan guards at the camp.
Okay.
Obviously with the note that, hey, there will be a signal, and if that happens, then all hands on deck. But
Are we taking horses, do you think, Sigmund?
these are pretty hilly. Like, I mean, the environment's not really great for horses, right?
No, it's. I mean, for pulling carts, sure, but it's
Also
windy
stealth
paths.
horses.
Yeah, they wouldn't be very.
That's
stealthy.
true.
Stealth
Yeah.
horses.
Not if
Just
we're
have them
not for a
crouch when
scouting
you're
hunt.
riding them.
Yeah, just make sure they crouch, and if the little
Stealth.
eye in the center of the screen starts to
Yeah.
widen, they just need to stand still for a few seconds, and then it'll close.
Stealth Adalbert.
Just make sure you keep their masks off until you're ready to engage.
Oh, God! Well, they
Alright.
can't crouch with their masks off. That's suspicious action, Darby.
That's true. You can't jump either.
Thanks, GM.
God.
Anyway, moving along. So, are you leaving the horses behind? It's just you. It's only a mile, so it'd only take you maybe 12 minutes walking if you were just walking.
Well, I
think-
know
I think
so
it's wise.
far, yeah, it's what, Zygmunt, Jurgen, and Elena? Is anybody else tagging along? Because we haven't really gotten verbal confirmation from anybody else. No pressure.
Bertolt would.
Okay.
He's actually probably would be glad to take his anger out on somebody at this point for
I think our lesson for this should be, let's stop splitting the goddamn party.
Yeah. That's
Alright,
a good
Rita's
fucking lesson.
coming too. Alright, gang, let's split up.
No, let's fucking not. We'll get stabbed in the kidney again.
I guess Rita is also accompanying the shitlords.
Don't be sassy. Just because God
Specifically
loves me
the
more.
one shitlord.
Just because God
The,
loves me more than you.
The sermon having died down, the strange silence actually has awoken Elena, and she has decided to join you somewhat groggily. She may be a little slow to react, but however is along for the ride. So, the walk down, which I'm assuming, unless someone stops me, that you all are going, because you've said you have.
It's a party!
Is fairly steep. You had, as you know, stopped at the top of the hill, and it's actually steeper going down than it was coming up, as you're sort of heading into the foothills instead of heading deeper into the foothills instead of just starting out in them. It takes you about 10 minutes. The blue glow stays constant. It's obviously something, whatever had happened at a specific point, and it's stayed consistent. It's not moving, but as you get closer, there are shadows cast within the light. It doesn't look so much as if someone's running about, but occasionally you'll see something, you'll see the light flicker for a second as if something runs between the trees and the source of the illumination. After another 2 or 3 minutes, if you go quietly, you'd notice a metal cart broken down, tipped over on its side, its wheels sheared clean off, and it is a metal cart, just like the collector's. And it's covered in the black and gold check of the Order of St. Michael.
The metal is cleaved through, you said?
No, the wheels are cleared off. Basically, something has snapped the axles off of the cart.
So it's still a metal axle, correct?
Yes.
Everybody on guard. We may have... Oh, shit.
Do you need a term?
Yeah, sure, biter.
Sherbert?
Shard beasts.
Shard beast, yes.
Shard beasts. We'll just go with the English for right now.
Sherbiter? What?
It's
wagon biter.
He's not wrong. He's not wrong.
Okay. Also, Brita would have loaded her gun before departing. I forgot to mention that. It's loaded. I don't need a turn to load it. It's loaded.
Yeah,
Blessed be the
Sherbiter.
Lord, my strength,
shard
which
beast.
teacheth my hands to war, and my fingers to fight, my goodness and my fortress, my high tower and my deliverer, my shield and he in whom I trust, who subdueth my people under him. Lord, what is man, that thou takest knowledge of him, or the son of the man, that thou makest account of him? Jurgen begins praying low under his breath while maintaining their cover.
As you kind of approach, you can see the top of the cart really didn't have a roof so much as a canvas overthrow. And just containers of adder blood and shards had broken open and been cast out the side onto the pathway. And the combination of the shards and the adder blood just are letting this almost brilliant blue glow. But you don't typically get with an adder lamp because they don't use this much blood, and certainly not this many shards. The concentration of shards to blood is inefficient. It will burn out the adder blood at a much quicker rate. But for the moment, though, the light from it is actually able to light up the whole area. And then the shadows flicker in. And several small, man-sized things kind of seem to climb on top of the cart and walk into the growing pool, becoming plainly visible to the group.
Ah.
As sort of half-desiccated wolves with shards embedded in their rumps and eyes and brain come plainly into view, their eyes glowing blue. One of them opens their mouth as if to howl, but no sound comes out, the larynx completely missing out of it. But regardless, the rest of them seem to respond just as if they would in life, and they sort of form up in a pack, 5 or 6 together, sort of bluish-green eyes glowing in the trees behind them as well.
Form a circle, now.
And with that, I think that's where we're going to call it tonight. We're a little early tonight, but we're also down a player. So I think with that, we'll leave it there and continue next week. Thank you all for joining us. We'll see you next Tuesday at the same time. Good night.
And feel free to join us this Thursday for a Call of Cthulhu game that I've forgotten the name of. Have a good
Shield
evening,
Against
everybody.
Midnight.
Thanks, Darby.
It's your game.
It is my game. It's really bad that I forgot the name of that. But good night, everybody.